Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 363. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarn and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, January 31st. I hope that you are doing well and enjoying crafty times. This week has been pretty good. I got quite a bit done in the way of crafting and things that I'm going to show you. Unfortunately, I'm working on some longer term projects, so a lot of them are the same as you have seen before, but I will share some progress on them, and I have a new finished spin to share with you. I hope that your last week has been nice. Our weather has been going up and down. Today it is gloriously warm. It is almost 60 degrees and it is lovely outside. But tomorrow we're battening down the hatches and preparing for 3 to 5 inches of snow over Tuesday night and into Wednesday. So, there's an old adage in the Midwest, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And literally from day to day, we never really know what we're getting. So, I have been working on lots of projects. Like I said, they are longer term projects, but I've put in some nice progress. I've also been knitting some chickens for the, City Girl Farm, so I've been keeping busy there as well, and then I had a collection I was tech editing last week, so that kept me very busy. So I hope that you're doing well, that things are warm or cool in your part of the world, and that you're finding some crafty inspiration. So let's get started. Today I decided to pull out my Valentines Tea blend from Simpson and Vale. Unfortunately, when I tore when I broke the tape on the package, it ruined the logo a little bit. This is what the logo looks like. Simpson and Vale, and they are available at Simpson and Vale online. And this is their Valentine's Tea blend, which I went and looked up. It is a black tea, and it has dark chocolate and tart pomegranate, which sounds delicious. And I ordered this one a few years ago and never opened it. I don't even know why. But I decided because Valentine's Day was coming up that it would be a good one to try. So I've got a cup of that. I have that in my Naughty Birds mug, which I love. And so that's what I'm drinking today. And I will put a link to that in the show notes. I realized that I had been falling off putting the tea in the show notes, so I'm now adding that back in. And then just as a general note, pattern links in the show notes do not go to Ravelry. If it is not available anywhere but Ravelry, you will note that there is no link, and you can always type those into Ravelry, but I just don't unknowingly want to send someone there, so all of the links in my show notes go to the designer's website or someplace else, if applicable. So let's talk about what's in progress. The most progress that I have made this week is on my mom's sweater. I am knitting a version of the Night Out cardigan by Hoagie Locatelli. I have knit this one before. This is actually my second time. And this is a sweater that my mom requested a sweater and we picked it out together. And so I am working on that for her birthday, which is the very beginning of March. The yarn that I am using is, let's see, I do have one of the labels here. Allegria, which is a really nice superwash merino and nylon blend from Manos del Uruguay. It's 75% merino superwash, 25% polyamide, approximately 445 yards to 100 grams, so it's a little bit on the thinner side, but it is lovely and it works for the gauge of this pattern. I am using the colorway Thistle, which is a really nice, actually that camera is making it look super nice. It is a semi-solid, kind of a nice mauve-y purple. And I think on camera the differences are just a smidge more pronounced than they are in person. I don't think it's quite as obvious in person, but this is what I have. I finished the body this week and I started on the first sleeve and I'm a good chunk of the way through that. So this is a top-down raglan. It's basically a pretty plain cardigan, mostly stockinette, although you can see that the variegation in the semi-solid creates some interest. And then there is a really nice lace panel right on either side of the button band. So I knit through the body. I have finished at the bottom, as you can see, with the ribbing. And then I have started one of the sleeves, and I'm about 2/3 of the way done with the sleeve. And of course, I am decreasing as I go. So it's getting easier and easier and easier. And my hope is to finish this sweater this week. I know I finally got a shipping notice and I will be receiving a new sample on Friday. And so my goal is to try and get through this Friday. I knit all of this sleeve in 2 days. And so my hope is that maybe I can finish the last third tonight and then start on the next sleeve for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Friday I will be done and ready to block. Then all it will need is buttons. And then I can start the sample with fresh needles. So again, this is the Night Out cardigan. I'm knitting it per pattern, same needle size and everything. I'm getting gauge and I think it's going to be beautiful. Like I said, I don't think that seeing it in person, you get quite the distinction between the yarns. I am alternating yarn balls on the sleeve as I did on the body. And so I am pleased with this and looking forward to having it done. It's not been on the needles super long. I started it after January 1st. So, you know, it's been less than 30 days. Actually, I think it's been less than that. I'm not sure I started it until mid-January, but for whatever reason, I'm just looking forward to having it off the needles. It's not a challenging knit, but yeah, I'm just ready to have it done and to send it off to its new home with my mom. So hopefully next week I will be able to show you a finished, blocked, and button sewn on cardigan, and we'll move that one to completed projects and you won't see it anymore. So that is that one. I did not make much progress on my sweater for myself, and I'll be really honest, I have sort of lost steam on it, and I can't tell if that's because I don't like it, but I think it might be. So, I had started knitting a breathing space by Viraval Maki for myself, and I was knitting it out of a gradient set, which is not really a gradient, but it is a 4 mini skein set from Zen Yarn Garden. And I love these colorways together, but they are not really a gradient. So this is the Midnight Teal Gradient Quartet set, and it comes with a skein of Midnight Teal. It comes with kind of a burgundy with all kinds of other colors in it. It's got kind of a flamingo pinky orange, and then a white skein with speckles of all the other colors. And so, like I said, it's not really a gradient. They are pretty much 4 disparate colors. And I decided that I was going to try Breathing Space, which is a top-down, somewhat raglan-shaped sweater with it's slightly askew, and so it uses short rows to create a bunch of stripes. And I am not to the short row section yet, and I believe I had just started all the colors when I started talking to you last week. But I have gotten through. I am now to the point where I separated for the sleeves last week, and I did about 1.5 inches, 2 inches more. I guess. Yeah, okay, so about 1.5 inches, 2 inches more. I think I still have a couple more rows to go before I would start the short row shaping. But here is where it's at, and I'll be honest, I can't decide if I like the stripes. They are bright and a little bit crazy, and I sort of knew that going in, and I just can't decide. I really, really love the Midnight Teal on top, and I really don't want to rip it out. I really would like this sweater, but something has stalled me on it, and I think it's just that I'm afraid it's going to be too bright and circus stripey. I mean, it's bright and cheerful, and I like it, but I don't know if I'll wear it if I really finish it. So that is sort of where I'm at. I can't really back it off and only go to 2 colors because I don't have enough yarn if that's the case. Like, I thought about whether or not I could just do the white and then maybe the dark burgundy and just have those 2 colors and have it be close enough and remove the pink that, you know, that's creating some of the contrast. But I won't have enough yarn to finish it in my size if I do that. So the answer is I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. And I think for now, I'm going to work on a few other things, and I'm going to think about it, and then I'm going to come back to it in another few weeks and decide whether I want to keep going or not. I really don't want to put all my time into knitting a fingering weight sweater if I'm not going to love it. So that's kind of my thing. And the other thing that I'm so on is, so when you're knitting stripes in the round, there's always going to be a little bit of a jog, and particularly when you're knitting 2 color stripes in the round, you're kind of switching colors every 2 rows, which is what this pattern calls for. But since I am doing 3 stripy colorways, I am not really loving how my join is looking at the side, and I realize that that's not necessarily going to be a huge issue, because especially once I start doing the short rows, things are going to change a little bit, but that's also part of the reason that I'm so on this one. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do, and I guess I'll be talking about it more once I figure out what I'm going to do. So, again, this one's going to go on hold for a little while. This is breathing space. It has nothing to do with the pattern. It's entirely, the pattern is done in 2 colors, and I decided to do it in 4, and I'm just not sure that I'm going to end up there. I might end up just doing a shawl. I really do love this set, even though it is quite disparate. So I'm thinking maybe I'll end up settling on a shawl pattern instead. Yeah, so more will be revealed when I decide what I'm doing. So let's move to a new cast on. I went ahead and decided that I needed to, well, okay, I have been thinking about knitting my aunt something for a while. She is definitely knitworthy. She is mostly a sewist. She quilts and she sews some garments, not a ton. But recently she came across some beautiful fabric that had, it's like oversized knit stitches. It's really cool looking. And she sent me a photo and said, I bought a few yards of this and I want to make you something. And so she is making me either a dress or a tunic. And I had been wanting to make her a shawl for a while. I've been talking about it on and off for the last few years. And I just haven't buckled down and done anything. But now that she is making me something, I want to make her something in return. And so I decided I wanted to knit her a shawl. And just in the last few weeks, a friend of mine gave me 2 skeins of yarn. It was a lovely gift. She said that she had placed the order for these 2 skeins and they had come and they just weren't her, and she thought they might be me. And you know that I have been into purples recently. So these are the 2 skeins. They are from Toil and Trouble Yarn, which is toilandtrouble.com, and they are Toil Trouble on Instagram. And these 2 skeins were dyed as part of a special offer. They're not regular. I'm sorry, it was for the, I don't know how to pronounce it. It looks like Semaine, but I remember that's not the way to pronounce it. So basically for Halloween and the solstice, and these were the 2021 edition, and this is called Morticia's Garter, and this is called When Morticia Met Gomez. So a little Addams Family for you. And they were special edition. They're beautiful. They go together. The dark one is just kind of a dark purple, and then the light one is a lighter version. It's also got some of the purple in there, and then it's got a few flecks of like a rust color a little bit. So it's really, really pretty. And I was looking at these and trying to figure out what I wanted to make, and my aunt's favorite color actually is purple. So I decided I wanted to get a 3rd skein of yarn, and I dithered and I purchased, and I didn't like what I purchased, and then I called my friend who, it's very funny, she actually lives about 3 minutes from me, and so I called her on Saturday and said, yarn emergency, can I come over and pick out a skein? It's just a friend of mine. She dies out in her barn, and we both live kind of out in the middle of nowhere, Kansas City, and she said, sure, come on over. So you have heard me talk about her before. This is Treasure Goddess, and I got a skein of Treasure Goddess Sparkle Toes sock yarn, so that's her little pirate sheepy logo. Oops, I'm sorry, that didn't show you very much. That's her little pirate sheepy logo, and I got her Sparkle sock yarn, which is 75% merino wool, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, 438 yards per 100 grams, and this is her Pieces of 8 colorway. And I have already wound it up, but you can kind of see the stellina sparkle in there, I hope. The camera's blowing it out right now. But so it is a lovely, lovely soft gray, and it's got a little bit of sparkle, and I thought this would be beautiful. So I am knitting my aunt a color affection, which is by Vera Valmaki. So yes, it's still the Ho-He and Vera show from last week, I guess. I just absolutely love, love, love my color affection. It is a 3-color semicircular shawl that is done all in garter stitch and short rows. And I knit one for myself years ago. And every time I wear it, I get a ton of compliments on it, and it is warm and cozy, and it's garter stitch, and I absolutely love it. So I have the very wee beginnings. I just started this last night because my goal was to, I'm using this a little bit as a carrot project, as in like when I get done what I'm supposed to on my other projects, I can work on this one. I do want to get this one done, but there's no specific deadline for it, so I'm kind of using it, like I said, as a carrot. And so I did just the first little bit. Basically, this is one of those shawls that builds. The first section is in 1 color, the second section is in 2 colors, and the third section is all in 3 colors. I guess technically the 4th section is all in the 3rd color. But so it's a bunch of sections, and like I said, it's garter stitch, and then there will be some short rows. And so this is what I have so far. Not a lot, but a little bit. And hopefully I will finish my sleeve tonight so I can work a little bit more on this one. I'm really looking forward to this. This was a super fun knit when I did mine the first time. Really nice and relaxing and easy, and not a ton of stuff to pay attention to, and I find my brain space these days can be somewhat limited, so I'm just really super looking forward to watching how these colors come together. And I do think, I was thinking about it, I am actually going to be, I don't remember if I mentioned this before, I am going to be doing the Knit for Foodathon again this year. It is spearheaded by Laura Nelkin, and it is a 12-hour knitting marathon where I pledge to knit for, well, all the people who participate pledge to knit for 12 hours, and we're raising money for food insecurity. There are 4 charities. It is, wow, every time I talk about this, I think it's Meals on Wheels, No Child Hungry, World Kitchen, which is Chef Jose Andres' charity, and then there is one more. I can't remember. But I am participating again. The inaugural event was last year, so this is kind of the 2nd annual knit-a-thon. And so far we have raised a little over $100,000. Last year we raised over a quarter of $1 million. I think the final count was something like $270,000. All the proceeds, it is the fundraiser is on the Give Butter platform. It is called Knit for Foodathon. I have a link in my Instagram profile if you would like to make a donation to sponsor me in the knit-a-thon, or you're welcome to just give a donation to sponsor the event. And we will knit for 12 hours on Saturday, February 12th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and hopefully raise quite a bit more money for food insecurity here in the United States. So I'm thinking maybe this, that was a long-winded way of saying I'm participating in that again, but also I'm thinking that this will be my project for that day because it's easy, it's soothing, and I think it will just be a nice project to work on throughout the day. I most likely will do other things. I will probably have a skein of handspun to apply, so I will definitely take a break and do that, and I may have some samples I'm working on, but I think this may be kind of my focus project for that day, and we'll see how far I can get. So that is in 2 weeks. We're in our last 2 weeks of fundraising, and then we'll knit for a whole day. I'm super excited to participate again this year. It is a cause I believe in. I already have a monthly recurring donation to World Kitchen, and what better way to use my hobby than for some good. So that's all the knitting content. I have a little bit of spinning content, so let me just take a sip of tea and then we'll move on. That is really good. The first time it was really hot. This time it's much more drinkable. So last week I showed you a part of a braid that I was spinning from Kumasi. Kumasi is Kumasi Fiber Arts on Etsy, and I believe they are just at Kumasi, Koomasee, on Instagram. And I was spinning a braid. They don't come with names. I was spinning a braid of Falkland that I said reminded me of an autumn harvest, so that's what I chose to call it. And I have finished that. It's lots of oranges with some purples and a little bit of kind of a foresty green and some lighter areas, and I spun it as a 2-ply. Mostly I barber pulled it, so I just kind of broke it up into strips, and it came out to be kind of a sturdy, squishy. I think it would make a great sock yarn, even though it's not superwash. It's not rough, but I wouldn't call it super soft either. I mean, I would say this is more, it feels more like when I use Corriedale for socks. It feels kind of sturdy and chunky and like it's going to hold up a little bit better, but it's not a super, super soft merino. Although Falkland is, I believe, a breed of merino. Anyway, although Falkland, I think, is named for sheep raised in the Falkland Islands. I'd have to look that up. Anyway, this is a skein of approximately 325 yards of a sport to DK weight, and I think it would make lovely, lovely socks. As you watch this, it is already up in my shop and available to be purchased. So lots of fall colors there. And it came out a little bit more muted than I thought it would, but it does have some nice orange and red tones, and like I said, then purple and a little bit of kind of greeny gray. It's a little hard to see here on but I do have some nice pictures. There will be some pictures on my Instagram as well as pictures in the Etsy shop. So this week I decided to spin a braid that I just got. I was tempted by Huckleberry Fibers. She is based in the Pacific Northwest, I think somewhere in Washington, but I can't remember. I first met Scarlett at Plyaway, which is a spinning conference held each year, and she was a vendor here in Kansas City, and she has some absolutely luscious braids and gradients. She dyes both fiber and yarn, and she recently had a fiber update after a while of not having a ton, and I love this one. It is merino silk. I think it's an 80/20, although the label is not right here. And it is in the dragonfly colorway. So it is pinks and purples and greens and blues, and it is just absolutely lovely. And I am spinning this probably as a fractal spin. I broke it in half widthwise, so it's not going to be technically a fractal, because a fractal would be dividing the fiber in half lengthwise and then spinning from there. I divided the braid in half widthwise, and I broke the first part up into 4 pieces, so I'm spinning very short color runs, and I haven't completely decided, but I think I might spin this one straight through or just break it in half once, so I have slightly longer color repeats. It will create a yarn that is slightly striping. This is super, super soft and luscious and definitely able to be worn next to the skin. And I love these jewel toned colorways, and I could not resist this braid. So that's what's on the wheel this week. Hopefully by the time I see you next week, I will have the finished braid to show you. And that also will be going up in the shop. So I hope that you are having a wonderful week. Thank you once again for joining me. If this was your first time, I hope you'll come back again. I always have a bit of a knitting and spinning section. I didn't do too much on the chatty this week because I guess I just don't have too much to share. I've just kind of kept my head down and been busy. But I will have more to share in the coming weeks as the knit-a-thon comes up, and as I start to work on more samples and different projects. So I hope you have a lovely week ahead, and I will say, as I always do, until I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!